Welcome. We are back for Paid and Proven. This is our show where we help founders like you scale to 8 figures and beyond using digital ads. We are deep in paid ads on all the channels and super excited to kind of pull back the curtain and get into the weeds with you. And not only have we helped over 150 companies scale profitably, we also put our money where our mouth was and we acquired our very own D2C apparel brands. And we've taken that so far from 9K a month to 114K a month. We're still going, but I love to share that because that has really allowed us to show you guys literally everything we do because I love our clients. I love our client success stories, but of course we want to keep things a little private for them. So today we have on Daniel. He's going to show us how to work with the algorithms, not against them, and showcase a tool that really anyone who is running ads must have on their computer. It is saving our time or our team so much time and tons of money that could potentially be wasted and literally thrown in I'm using literally in the millennial sense into the void. So welcome, Daniel. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much, Jordan. And hey, everyone that's watching. I'm Daniel. I've been working together with Jordan and the team at GrowthIt. We have been, like Jordan said, deep in the paid advertising stuff. And we are working with our own brand, which has been amazing and a very good learning experience. So yeah, ready to dive in.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. And I'm really excited to get into it because what you have to share with us, it used to take me so much time to diagnose some really technical and I think for many people, overwhelming problems that can be plaguing their ad accounts. So that'll be super fun to go deep into. Tracking is a necessary, some may say evil. I think once you get into it, it's not so complicated, but even you and I work with a team of experts. So I really appreciate how confusing it can be for founders out there who are trying to manage a marketing team. And we really, I hope today will make everyone feel calmer and more at ease or immediately illuminate something that you need to take care of ASAP with your team. But before we get into that, we know that AI is completely changing the marketing field, the digital marketing field, and beyond. So we're going to start out with our weekly AI wins and wipeouts.
Get ready for the wins! Big wipeouts! AI wins and wipeouts! Yeah! Let's go!
All right, let's go. Daniel, what are some wins that you've been having with AI lately?
One thing I've been playing around a lot, and it has been showing a lot of success, is doing briefings for UGC type content. AI does a very good job structuring the content altogether. Not so much of deciding what's good, what's not, but as you have a pretty good idea of what you want people to say and what you want the ad to be about, you can plug it into AI. It will do a very good job structuring into the template you want and passing a clear message to the UGC content providers. Sometimes I've been having issues in the past where it would to take 2, 3, 4 revisions, and nowadays I feel like that has come like to 1 or 2 at the most, and I feel like that's in part very deep into the template that AI has been creating and helping structure. So yeah, that's a pretty good win because, as you know, if you go into a lot of revisions, it gets expensive. So yeah, it's been saving money, saving time. Very, very great win for sure.
That's cool. So you're not having to reprompt it as
No.
often to get the result. And
Yeah.
in that case, is it starting to become even faster than the old way of doing it? Like, is this now more of a go-to strategy? Did you used to avoid it for certain use cases? Are there use cases that now you're more likely to pull that tactic?
I've been using it almost every time now. In the
Yeah.
past, there was issues where it would mess the content that you have a little bit, and that's a problem because when someone was recording the video, it would go in the wrong direction.
Mm.
But I think as AI is progressing, it's getting better and better to sticking to the script and not hallucinating. So yeah, I've been using it almost every time. There are some specific cases where things are very complex and you need very technical stuff to be in there. AI still goes a little bit outside of that box,
Mhm.
but you can also adjust very well. So it's not an issue. It's been 90% success for sure.
That's awesome. Are you guys testing more? Like, is your volume increased, or, what is this unlocking?
The volume and the quality. So
Mm.
let's say if we were doing like 3 videos in the past, now we are doing 5 because we know the revisions will be way less. And
Mhm.
the quality of the videos we are getting, like I said, the person that's recording the video gets it, and it gets a better angle that it would otherwise. Because as you know, even as we pricing briefings, the message always changes a little bit because
Yeah.
the other person's way to interpret it. But I think as of now, things are very, very tight and very, very successful and efficient. So yeah, I think both volume and efficiency is increasing because of that. So more
That's
ads,
exciting.
more
Yeah.
testing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you felt like there's an upper limit on how many ads you should be testing? Say, maybe for someone who's spending between 1,000 and 10,000 a week?
I would say so, but going to what AI is doing, I feel like the process we have been implementing of having stuff in the backlog so you can test later
Mhm.
is a win. Answering your question, yes, there is a limit of ads to test, so we don't overwhelm the amount of permutations and the amount of stuff that the algorithm spreads around. But if you have those videos in the backlog, it will allow you to free your mind for later down the line think about strategy, because you're not
Yeah.
constantly going in the wheel of I need to produce content, I need to produce content, I need to produce content. So allows you to have a better pipeline of content and then free your mind to go more strategic and more into other sides of the business.
That makes sense. Like, you're not spinning your wheels trying to just make sure you're churning out the minimum amount of creative needed to sustain the level of growth you're looking for. It's opening you up to be able to put more brain power on the offer lever, on levers that maybe the AI isn't necessarily going to be able to one shot on its own, and even spend more time using the AI to mine reviews or do deeper analysis on the account, on the business, maybe taking sales transcripts or cross pollinating data from your CRO experimentations or exit poll surveys and things like that to fuel something that's a little bit more of a more advanced iteration or creative concept that is outside the box in a bigger way than AI kind of doing its thing in cycles is going to be able to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
And
And then, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah.
In pretty much
I
every
was going to say, sorry, I was going to say, because AI also has some stuff that it's not able to do so well, and one of the things is strategy. And if you don't have time to do strategy, AI won't do a very good job helping you with that. It's still a very personal thing and a very tailored to the specific business thing. So
Yeah.
you do need to have the time to think about that, and you do need to have the brain power to go and think about that. So having the AI take care of that more uh, content wheel that is going on nowadays, and it's necessary because everyone is doing it. So if you don't have enough content, you will stay behind.
Mhm.
But the AI does a very good job providing you with support there. So yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. If everybody's using it, what is the competitive edge? And pretty much every case study that we've produced, that I've seen others produce around AI creative strategy, the best results come from using it to iterate within the box of things that you know work. You have an established playbook, you have tried and true templates, you have maybe competitive research you can train on. That is kind of its own little ecosystem, its own flywheel. And then where things get really cool, really is exciting, is testing more of those human engineered concepts. And of course, most of them are going to flop, but the few that win, feeding that back into and adding it to your AI playbook, into your AI ecosystem, so it can kind of expand it. It's going back to the very basics when we talk about ad creative. There's really two purposes of a creative experiment. One would be to get even better at appealing to the people who already know you. So that's not stretching the algorithm, that's refining the algorithm. That is getting content that speaks more purposefully, more deliberately, in a more compelling manner to the persona that it's already trained on. The other camp that you might be trying to get to with a creative experiment is expands the pool, expands to net new people. And so we talked about that for years as it relates to the algorithm that is AI. You can easily call
Yeah.
these things AI. The algorithm itself, how it decides to target people, how it curates people's feed, that is very comparative to other AI tools that we talk about now. Um, it's the same thing. We're just applying it to the creative generation, not just the creative distribution, which is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched in a point that is very important. Uh, AI needs context. AI needs you to give it the guardrails to perform in a very good way. So having you do the data feed of explaining what's working, explaining what's not, feeding the important data that will allow you to iterate later is a very important part of the process. Both in the AI that you are using to create content, and also the platforms that we call algorithms, but they are AIs and they are constantly learning with everything that is inputted. So
Mhm.
that's something also to have in mind as you go through the processes and you try to explore AI deeper. It's important to have context because AI has access to a sea of information that is not necessarily tapered to your business or adequate to your business. So having you giving it the first landscape is very, very important for sure.
That's so true. I mean, that applies to the creative that we put, especially on the CPM optimized platforms. That is what's steering the targeting AI. In a similar way that your prompts or your groups and projects within your LLM tool of choice do, the creative itself gives the algorithm a starting place, but so does the data and behavior of users on your website. So we'll get into that in a little bit because the tool we have to share today is about exactly that, how to make sure it has the right context to know who to serve things to, when, and how. But before we get into the meat of things, Daniel, is there any AI wipeout that you've seen where things are just not quite yet refined? Maybe it's user error, maybe it's we haven't locked in the process yet, maybe it's the tool's not mature enough yet. That anything you're seeing?
I would say for the very beginners, if you are setting up an ad account, if you are setting up your business and you need to set up like the initial strategy and initial idea, AI is not yet there to give you a very solid structure. I would say it could be user error, but we have tried it a bunch and it always requires people to go around it. And it's not even edit what the AI gives you, it's completely go in a different direction. So I think that's kind of a wipeout that I would say. I- It's it's tricky because it's something that is very specific to you and to your business, and it requires that you give it a little bit of your business idea and vision. It's very hard for the AI to stick to that and
Mhm.
go in that direction. It always goes two different directions, and it goes all over the place. So a no to go there. Yeah. for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I'm seeing a similar phenomena when I try to use the LLMs in particular to help me flesh out audits, for an example. I've not really seen that go well. I think really what the team is writing themselves is much stronger. What I think is possibly happening is it's pulling from all of these different blogs, all of these different tweets, all of this thought leadership content, and much of it is outdated. It's interesting. I've seen more outdated practices and ad accounts in the past couple of months than I think I saw all of last year in the brands that I've been doing audits and consulting for. It's almost like these bad practices are becoming more frequent. And I wonder if it's because we have this LLM feedback loop, but that's really just speculation. I can't prove it. But what I notice when I ask for analysis, it's using these buzzwords, it's using jargon that sounds really great, but it is in fact saying exactly the opposite of what all of my experience and all of the experiments that we've ran at Growth Hit the past 5 years plus. It's fascinating. It's using the right words, but it's saying to do the opposite thing.
Yeah, there are two things in there to what you just said that kind of go into what's the reason. One of them is the feedback loop. We know that nowadays, I would say more than half of the content that is going online will be generated by AI. So the amount of content increases, but the amount of good content does not increase so fast. So it's something where we'll have AI pull content. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's not the best. Like you said, it's
Yeah.
not the best practices. We have done stuff like that in the past. We all did, like 5-10 years ago. We were doing that, but it's not applicable to today's environment. So,
Yeah. Specific examples that come to mind are the lookalike audiences. I'm seeing a lot more of those, small percentages, a bunch of different campaigns with different campaigns, not even ad sets, with different slices of lookalikes and then segmented throughout the funnel. It really feels like stuff I was doing in 2019. And even then, knowing what I know now, it probably was not the best thing to do. But
yeah.
It's fascinating. Like you said, this content is getting fed back into the LLM. The LLM is writing the content that then people are putting online. And it's this very interesting cycle.
Yeah. And I think in the future, a very good skill to have is the knowledge to differentiate what's good and what's not, because this is going to be a common practice as the LLMs get more prevalent in the space. And as new entrepreneurs that want to start their business, they will resource to LLM, which is free, obviously.
Yeah.
Free-ish. You can pay for a better model, but compared to hiring an agency, it's completely different. But the level of knowledge and the level of quality, they are completely different still. In the future, we don't know. But as of today, we have to be honest, and it's not there yet. You can use it. It's a very good support tool, but it's not the real thing. It's not the MVP that will save your business. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so that also makes me think of these AI recommendation features that are baked into the platforms. So those are separate from using something like Claude, ChatGPT, Grok. There's that. And within that, I would say a lot of the advice you see out there may or may not be applicable to your stage of growth. That's super important to keep in mind, as well as your margins, your industry. Really, I would say margins and your stage of maturity are probably the most important factors in identifying what strategy is most effective for you, because trying to do what I don't know, Walmart is doing at their scale is not going to translate super well. So sometimes I see a lot of well-meaning advice out there, but it just may not apply depending on how much cash you have on hand and what your real revenue targets are.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not that it's wrong. It's not wrongful data. It's just not tailored to your needs right now. and it's not a thing that will completely destroy your business, but it will send you
Oh,
in
it
the
could.
wrong path, you know?
It totally could. Sometimes I see things that people share with me for feedback that are giving specific recommendations on where to invest ad dollars. And it freaks me out because if I just remember all of the different amazing entrepreneurs I've worked with in my career, and very savvy people always trying to roll up their sleeves and get stuff done and take their business to the next level. And it makes me a little scared for some people because I feel like implementing some of this advice is lighting money on fire. And I never want to see anyone do that. And it's not just a waste of money, it also can completely derail the way that your ad account targets. And it can take 180 days on the maximum to kind of get things to turn around again.
Yeah, that's a very good point that we'll go into later as we start
Yeah.
to talk about tracking. Feeding the algorithms with bad data, it's a very bad problem because you are walking backwards. For you to go to the step 0, you need to come back. It's like you'll be spending money to go backwards, you'll spend money to come for stage 0. So it's something you really want
It's a
to
bummer.
avoid, for sure. Yeah.
It's a bummer when it happens. But we try really hard to help people make the right choices. So that's not necessary, and really get things started off on the right foot. The other place I see these AI recommendations, as I mentioned, is on the platforms themselves. There's all of these auto features that often have you automatically opted in. Today I had to go through and I found on Facebook ads, someone showed me a screenshot of something that looked kind of weird in the call to action. So we opened it up, and lo and behold, okay, there's a toggle at the top that says all AI optimizations off. Okay, well, you scroll down, and then there are essential enhancements that have, by the way, been added since this ad went live. So very weird. And it auto checked into features, even though at the very top it said that it's not on. Now, most of the time, is this going to be a huge money waster? Probably not, but it's annoying. And sometimes these features are not helpful. Sometimes they do more damage than good. I've seen it try to create fake promotions that don't exist. And then it is really weird. And then on Google in general, not that long ago, Daniel, we had a client who was accepting notifications that popped up on his phone on different keywords to add. And essentially it was just adding all these broad keywords that spent a ton of money, which is great for Google, but they were not converting. And we were so confused. We had to ask, was this intentional? And no, these were just notifications that popped up on the founder's phone. And they seemed innocent enough, so he just clicked accept, and then before you know it, it's wasting a bunch of money.
Yeah, because for someone that is from the outside, receiving a notification on, oh, you can improve your ROAS by 3%. Why
Of
not? Why
course.
shouldn't you, right? But it's not guaranteed. It's not something that will be delivered. And it's like you said, not always, but AI add-ons do some weird things still. I always try to avoid the copy one that will write a lot of stuff that is not necessarily the offer you have. And there are a couple of other ones that you should avoid. Sometimes music, I leave it on if you are doing like statics.
Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. It could be a little bit against your brand or not, but it's not.
If
like
you're a music,
deal.
it's going to be royalty free, kind of.
Yeah.
Whatever stuff. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's super offensive or anything like that. It's pretty innocuous.
One thing to keep in mind for everyone, if you duplicate an ad, be aware, because even if the old ad has all the AI features turned off, they will be turned on in the new one. So you'll have to go through the process of going in again and turning everything off. I've been caught by that mistake in the past, where I duplicated an ad just to edit some stuff. It was an ad variation, and I have it go live, and then I realized, oh, this is as all the AI things on. So yeah.
Ugh, it's so frustrating. I mean, if it was a slam dunk every time, that would be amazing. But unfortunately, it's just not there yet.
Not there.
But of course, they need us to adopt these features to train the features. So I totally understand where they're coming from and why they kind of force adoption in these sneaky ways. But
They will get the data eventually. So I wouldn't I wouldn't
doesn't have to be you.
harm our hands, yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Awesome. Well, anything else about AI? I know we're going to continue the AI conversation really for the foreseeable future, but anything else to close that out?
Yeah, I think play with it, use
Yeah.
it as a tool, a support tool, but always use your discernment to decide what's good and what's not for your business. Even more if you are a founder, you know your vision and you know where you want to take your business to. So trust your gut. I think nowadays we will see on social media the culture of trusting AI more and more, but I think you should trust your gut still. AI will help you, but you have the vision and you have the capacity to steer your business. So don't let yourself influence too much by the AI. But yeah, that
So
would be the thing.
true. And hopefully everyone watching has a business scorecard. So, I mean, if you don't, maybe take some time to put it together, but ideally you should be tracking the main, most important numbers and maybe even qualitative information. It might not be completely numerical, but you should be tracking that over time, week over week, month over month. And as you're implementing different AI solutions, zoom out and just take a look. Are we seeing the right numbers go in the right direction? And that should give you some insight into if these things are helping you or if they're just shiny objects, because we do have a lot of it's just very exciting and it could be super fun to spend 4 days trying to iron out some, VO3 video that's just like not quite right, but it's so close and it's got kind of this slot machine feel to it where you just keep pulling, the slot machine and getting closer and closer. But yeah, just keeping our eye on the prize and focusing on the numbers that matter most, I think will really help silence the noise and help you make progress in the ways that actually translate to success for your brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I'd love to get into the tracking conversation today. I know this is so important. So most people do not want to talk about this. And I have found at other agencies, even this often gets kind of overlooked or rushed through at the beginning of a project, punted. Maybe some less than ideal solutions get implemented at the beginning and we all say, oh, we'll figure it out later. No, you have to have tracking right from day one and really well before you ever spend any money on ads. As we already talked about, AI is only as good as the context and the data you give it. So having a really high quality data ecosystem where things are getting pushed back in an accurate and holistic manner, it has to happen. So Daniel, I'd love to kind of open things up and start to talk about what you look for. What are the biggest kind of blockers, or what's the most difficult thing you see that brands are facing? Where are people kind of hitting a roadblock?
First of all, I would say if you hit roadblocks, don't feel alone. As we work with clients, tracking, like Jordan said, is one of the things that you must have in place as you're starting the project right away, because as much data you gathered and as much direction you take from that data, the best. So if you struggle to get things right, don't feel frustrated. Keep on it, improve a little every day, and don't get demotivated by that. But I see most of the issues that people face in tracking is trying to get it perfectly. I've seen countless examples, and I have countless of experience on people want to really know if the wins come from Meta, if the wins come from Google, if the wins come from Pinterest, whatever platform. First of all, it's never going to be perfect. It's complicated because tracking is a thing where you'll just have to learn to navigate it every day, because no one solved tracking 100% yet, and it's something that goes into people really don't agree with tracking. Us that do our job, obviously we do, but it's a combination of feeding the data that is
Mhm.
privacy to the algorithms, and having it not being used
Yeah.
against you, you know?
So
So
let's kind of zoom out. There are two different purposes of the data ecosystem we're talking about. One purpose, which I think we're primarily focused on today, is setting the algorithm up to succeed by passing back as much comprehensive data as possible in the most accurate way possible. Meaning, when someone goes on your website and they click something, that click is registered. When somebody adds to cart and makes a purchase, those behaviors are not double counted, triple counted, only sometimes counted. That behavior is monitored, it is cataloged, and it is shared back with Facebook, Google, TikTok, Pinterest, and all of the other platforms so that they can learn based off of this user behavior. That is its own endeavor. Separate of that is making business decisions based off of data. And that's not necessarily something we're going to go super deeply into today here, because as Daniel said, this is a really deep subject. People have spent millions of dollars trying to solve this. And there are some really great tools out there that can help a ton. I think Northbeam has done the best job I have seen in the industry, but it's not a $10 a month tool. And what I see often is people trying to find these cheap plugins, these cheap kind of apps on Shopify or whatever, or WordPress, whatever it may be, and expect that a cheap little tool like that is going to be a game changer for making business decisions. And the reality is, it is not. And in fact, it might be a waste of money because it's not really going to be accurate anyway. And within that universe, we use different slices of data, different data sources to make different types of decisions. But when it comes to training the algorithms, we have to know that the events are firing the right way.
yeah, that's something that ties up what we were talking in the beginning. Don't start ad account in
Yeah.
whatever platform it is without tracking, because it
Yeah.
will be running mostly blind and it will be setting money on fire. So
Even if you think that you're not ready for ads, but you might be in the next month, 2 months, 6 months, year, go ahead and set it up, because then it will have more history of data to pull back on if that pixel is already installed, or the Google Tag Manager. It's called different things on each platform, but the tracking should be set up.
yeah, tracking is something that's you touched in a very good point. Some people think that the tracking only gets information with the ads turned on. If you install pixels on your website, they will gather all the data from the
Mhm.
website. It's not just from people that come from ads. So even like you said, if you are starting a website, if you are starting something that you don't necessarily have the power to go into ads and start advertising, install the pixel. You'll have valuable organic
Mhm.
data that people will go in and will interact with your website. It will make your life easier when you start the ads, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and it's learning off of everyone on the website. It's not just learning from people who came from that particular ad platform. So even if you have a really successful email campaign, it's learning from those people.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that really people try to solve, and it's unsolvable, but it's going and trying to do the automatic thing. If you do the automatic tracking more times than not, you will be having not so clear data, because
So are you talking
iOS
specifically on Meta? There's this option for Shopify in particular that you just
Yeah.
toggle on. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't go in and you don't set up all the events and stuff like that. iOS is blocking a lot. So this goes a little bit into the server-side tracking, where
Yeah.
you'll have a more trustworthy data. And it's not that you can't have both, because then you can
You should. Yeah.
cross-check both data and make sure that those are correct. But if you just do the basic thing, you will get blocked, because nowadays a lot of, for example, you have Brave, which is a browser that blocks a lot of ads and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
You use
So
Brave, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And most
Yeah.
people that I know do as well. So
Yeah. It's not the
something.
most widely used, but it is what, people are actively trying to not get spied on all the time, which makes sense. And we can do everything we can so that the people who haven't opted out, we are able to attribute those purchases. But, as Daniel said, you actually cannot 100% solve this problem. There's going to be someone out there on Linux who has a burner device specifically for purchases. I wish this were me, it isn't. But I don't know if you've seen the PewDiePie content more recently, but he's really trying to show people how to opt out of these systems and avoid being tracked. So I think there's more awareness, but I will say that's still a really small percentage of customers.
Yeah. And I don't think this is something to go really deep on, because it's
That's,
very
yeah,
technical
reel me back
and
in.
it would derail everything. But try to use Cappy
Mhm.
on Meta. It will solve 90% of the issues you'll have. So
Yeah.
it's just to bring awareness that doing the API stuff that you see on Shopify, the simple thing, sometimes might be tricky, because you'll see data, but you won't see the reality of what's going on. Always pairing it with server-side tracking is very important, even for you to have two sides of data and you can cross-share them, so
Mhm.
you can analyze everything and make sure everything is correct. Yeah.
That's a great point. So what you're saying is, hold on, I thought I was going to sneeze. Don't just enable the feature and expect that it's done. You need to go through and make sure wherever possible, we're using every methodology at our disposal to get that data ecosystem shored up and everything passing back through. I will say I'm not super excited about a lot of these cheap tools that I see people push to be doing the server side sharing. I find that Cappy probably gets the vast majority of that in most cases. There's always going to be a fringe case, but I think if you're really trying to do something that's more advanced like that, don't expect a $15 app to outperform the Cappy methodology that already exists. I don't know if you
Yeah.
have opinions on that, but I get asked all the time, like, which tool should I use? I'm like, this isn't really doing much more than the Shopify native integration and the Cappy isn't already achieving.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And most of those tools are just reskins of the same tool that people try to push to the market. It's not something that will solve your problem. Sometimes, I understand that people get the feeling that as many tools they have working alongside them, the more power they have, but that's not always the case. And in tracking, absolutely not the case. I think Cappy is a very good place to start. And even if you are not very knowledgeable, they have a bunch of documentation about it. So if you go in there, you'll be able to figure it out. It's not something that is that complex. You can just
Mhm.
set it up and have it running. rather than paying those $15 to $20 and not be well served, because
Yeah,
you'll
it could
just
still not
rent
be
it more.
working. And most of these companies do not respond to you if you have
Yeah.
issues. So it's not like you're getting a lot of value, in my experience, from I'd say even these $50 to $100 a month tools. I am just not impressed, but I'm not making a buck off of it. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but I see so many of these tools pushed so heavily on Reddit and all these places, and I just don't see a lot of value. Now, if you're starting to spend I shouldn't say that. All money is real money. Every
Yeah.
investment is important, and we want to get as much ROI as possible out of it. So I shouldn't have said it that way. But, once we're spending about $100K a month, then I think it makes sense to invest in a serious attribution tool if we think that we're going to change the decisions we're making based off of that data, because sometimes that's not the case. And,
Yeah.
an example would be you're only serving ads on one platform. You have a very specific budget that's not going to wiggle no matter what. This is what the CFO has allocated. We're not trying to scale it. You probably don't even need to buy a tool because you're not going to make changes. But if you are in big growth mode, you have a sizable budget, you want to test into over the top TV ads, you want to test into different channels that you haven't used before or expand the upper funnel, maybe you want to push more onto YouTube ads and things that don't have as strong of a first last touch attribution. Let's go. Let's put some serious money into a tool that's going to help us make those decisions. But anyway, I know I'm a little bit on a soapbox about this topic, but
Yeah, but serious money is the key there. It's you have to be able and to have that volume on your business for you to invest.
Yeah, there needs
If
to be enough
you-
data to make decisions off of.
Decisions, yeah. If you advertise on Meta only, let's say, and even if you are doing a pretty sizable budget there, it won't change that much. You'll see the platform sometimes over or more over than under, but you'll see over reporting a little bit. But if you pair those numbers with your business numbers, let's say you are an e-commerce and you jump into Shopify, those are the valuable numbers. You know, you are advertising on Meta. If your Shopify numbers are growing, your business numbers are growing, you know you are in the right path. So you can keep going until you reach a place where, okay, we are going to start investing in other platforms. Let's go into Google.
Yeah.
Let's go into Pinterest. Let's go into Reddit. So there it makes sense, but even there, don't get stuck in trying to figure out which one is the best platform. Because and sometimes I see that happening. It's very important for you to see marketing as a whole. It doesn't really matter if Meta is the great winner, if Google is the great winner. You analyze the platforms, they are doing good. You see our business numbers growing. You are in the good path. Obviously, if the business numbers have some red flag, you'll have to analyze and to steer the wheel. But if everything is growing and things are doing good, don't try to overanalyze and, let's say Meta is the great one, and if Google is not that good, we'll drop it. Platforms also optimize on their own data. So even if you spend a lot of money in a tool, it's more for you to make business decisions.
Because it's more about budget allocation decisions. Do I put 80% of my budget here or 20% of my budget here? And some of these tools can get really in the weeds, and I think can be helpful as downstream as the keyword, the creative level. But most businesses aren't spending that much. So, I don't think they're totally invaluable, but most of the time there's a lower hanging fruit that's more obvious that needs to be fixed before paying for additional data insights is actually going to drive profitable growth.
Yeah, it's like
we're speaking generally.
Yeah, you are making budget decisions more likely
Exactly.
than not, because the algorithm from Meta optimizes on Meta's data. The algorithm from Google
Right.
optimizes on Google's data. So most of the decisions you'll take on creative and stuff like that will come uh, most of the time from the platform. So it's
Right.
like you
Because that's
said,
what
it's
Meta
more
thinks is doing best. So that's
exactly
the type of content that you want to give Meta so that it gives you
Meta
good
keeps
CPMs
growing.
and like
Exactly.
there obviously are fringe cases
Yeah,
that I don't want to
exactly.
get too into, but I think generally, most people are best served by looking at the marketing efficiency ratio, as you said, comparing the revenue to the channel. And then once we start spending about 100K, then we get into a deeper conversation about which tool is appropriate, what views in those tools should we be looking at for different specific decisions that we'll be making.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Well, let's get into the actual tool. This one's free. So I know we've spent, a good half hour kind of bashing the $5 to $50 to $100 a month tools. This one's actually free and has been the biggest improvement in my workflow efficiency, I think, this year. Honestly, we do so much with AI that has been helpful and amazing. But what Daniel's about to show us really streamlines the diagnostic process for, is your tracking working and is it giving the right data back to each platform? And in addition to that, it's going to do all the platforms at the same time, which is awesome.
Yeah, honestly, I'm the same as you. I find myself adopting these more and more throughout the year. Nowadays, through my flow of checking the funnel and if the tracking is working correctly throughout the funnel, I've been using only these. Not to say that, and this is an important thing, is to double check with the platform tracking if you see that something is wrong. But most likely, tool works fine and you'll see the funnel. So
Yeah. Do you want to share your
I
screen
will.
and then I'll throw
Yeah,
it up?
I'll share my screen pretty quick.
And this makes it so much easier. Like anyone can use this.
Yeah,
Just to get a quick diagnostic and then know, okay, do I need to bring in some heavy hitters or do I need to really roll up my sleeves and spend some time trying to learn the documentation to implement it?
yeah, this won't solve your issue altogether, but
No,
it
but
will help you identify it.
if you're freaking out because your Shopify or CRM is saying that you're not making any money yet today and you don't know what's
Yeah.
going on, this is the best thing to do first to rule out a tracking issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So the tool is Omnibug. You can find these in Google extensions. It's pretty easy to install. And you don't really need to have it pinned because this does nothing. If you click on it, they will say this is just an add-on. This, on the other hand, will allow you to inspect the page. You click at the bottom and you'll see a bunch of code. Don't freak out. You just have to go into the tab and find Omnibug here. If you don't have all these tabs, sometimes it will show up, but if you don't see it, always go into the arrow on the side and it will be here at the bottom. As you press Omnibug, you will see this window pop up. And now you do need to start navigating. You do need to know your funnel and how it works. So you go to the customer journey and the events will start popping up here. So this is Neat, the brand that we were talking about at the beginning. It's our brand. And going into a product, we'll see things start to popping up. And as we go to the customer journey, let's say I'm an M, I want a blue one. You can see it starts to populate. You add to the cart. And as you can see, you will be seeing sometimes, and this can be an issue, you can run it multiple times. As you notice here, I'm only seeing Google Ads and Google Analytics. This does not mean that Meta is not triggering. And this is why I was saying, let's say you are in here, you don't see Meta triggering. If you want to double check, use the platform.
Right. Right. But this is how you can very quickly say
Yes.
you have some landing page tests going on. Maybe you hired someone to do some SEO things to the website, and you just want to make sure that nothing got broken when these
Exactly.
people went into the website and then left. This is so much easier than having to bounce from Meta,
Platform.
Google, Pinterest, Google Analytics, all these different places to pinpoint if something broke somewhere. So this for sure is, to me, the steal this for the week. I think, this is so easy and
It's a
really
time
empowers
saver.
everyone.
Yeah, it's a time saver, and from all the platforms, checking the tracking is not the same. So let's say checking the
Mhm.
tracking on Meta and checking the tracking on Google and checking the tracking on Pinterest, it's not the same. So having you streamline all that effort and have it all in one place, and it saves so much time. And we even talk about this sometimes. It allows you to check this more often, because tracking is something that you only notice when it's been broken for a couple of days. Because day-to-day
Well, there's
data,
data lag. There's data lag on the
yeah,
platforms. So you're
there are.
not necessarily going to see it immediately because you're not seeing fully manifested data. You may see something that looks weird that later is a confirmed trend, but sometimes it shifts and everything's
Yeah,
normal.
yeah. It's not something that you can sound the whistle right away. It's like, okay, something is weird. I'm not seeing that many purchases today, but
But
that
this
can be
methodology
something
does
that
allow
happens.
you to do that. It allows you
It
to
allows you, yeah.
instantly check, see if everything's firing, and if not, get some help.
It at least gives you some peace of mind, because if you
Mhm.
come in here, you see that everything is firing, then it's not tracking. Okay, you have taken away one of the possibilities that might be broken.
Exactly.
It gives you direction and peace of mind for you to, okay, let's jump into the platform and see what's going on. Okay, it's something from my business. It's like, am I out of stock or something like that?
Yeah.
That sometimes happens and people don't really identify right away. But if you have all those options in front of you and you have to go through all the platforms to really check what's going on,
I
you'll
can't
spend a day,
imagine
you'll spend 2 days.
most CEOs I've worked with, like, that is just not gonna happen, and it's not, they're all smart people. It's not that anything we do is incredibly high IQ. I mean, I think it I'm biased. I think being a media buyer does require a decent IQ, but, there's other people who are just as smart, who don't have the UX and everything memorized to learn all these
Yeah.
things. And so I think it really empowers anyone at a company to quickly figure out if something's broken.
And they shouldn't, to be honest, because it's like, if you are a founder, you need to spend your time making business decisions that will impact
Yeah.
your business. You shouldn't be like spending 2 days checking tracking
No.
across your
No.
your websites. If you are worried, use this tool. It gives
You know what?
you
Those
saves you a
businesses,
bunch of time.
Daniel, that we don't see succeed. I'll be real.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, because you need to steer your attention to where it matters.
Yeah.
And tools like this is, like you said, this is a free tool. It's not perfect, obviously, but tools like this allow you to clear your mind and kind of step back a little bit from the worry that is having constantly
Yeah.
to look at the numbers. Is something wrong? Is something not wrong? Okay, let me check.
And is it just me, or does it seem like tracking's been breaking more often lately
It
than it
has.
used to?
Yeah.
I feel like this used to be very rare. Maybe every 6 months we'd have something. It seems like the past year, we're checking this every week because weird stuff's
Yeah.
happening. I'm not sure the root cause. Maybe that's something we can ask Atif about.
Yeah. There are some weird stuff definitely happening, but on the other hand, AI has allowed us to test more often. So the
Mhm.
CRO team is working on high gear,
Yeah.
changing stuff. We are iterating a lot more. So you'll see changes being done on the website a lot more. So that also increases the chance for stuff to
So
break a
true.
little bit in terms of the tracking. And we have to accept it. the world is getting faster. So you having a fast tool to help you check this, it's a must. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you, I think,
Still
for
this. Still this.
and hopefully it makes your life easier and helps you sleep better. Daniel, thank you so much for walking us through that. I hope everybody, I'm biased. I think this was super valuable, getting in the weeds a little bit, but not too much, on really what founders need to know about tracking, why it's important, what it feeds into, how to make sure that we're feeding the algorithms the best information possible so the AI is as smart as possible. Daniel, anything you want to add before we close?
Yeah, I think don't try to get it perfect. Like we said in the beginning, steer the sea one day at a time. It's very important to have things work, but it's not that important to have things working perfectly. So
Meaning one for
90%
one. Every single add to
time.
cart is exactly the number during this time period as it is on the platform. And you know what? I think, yeah, all the major ad platforms, the data they are showing you is modeled. It is
Yeah.
only the archaic, I would say kind of outdated ad platforms. The Knot comes to mind. You know, it's wedding specific, these really niche ad platforms. Everyone who is using a modern machine learning approach to algorithms and targeting, their data is modeled. So you're
is.
already not looking at real data next to real data.
Yeah, I would say if you find 85 to 90%
That's
of
good.
match, it's already good.
Yeah.
You should, just like we were talking about, you should schedule like a weekly if you have the time. If you don't, a monthly check-in to make sure
Mhm.
tracking is good. Move on. You
Yeah.
have more important decisions to make, and look at the data always with a pinch of salt. And yeah, I would end it there because it's tricky. We won't solve it here in this chat we are having. So
Well, I think we made great headway. Thanks for joining us, everyone. If you have any specific questions or topics you'd like us to dive into, feel free to share them, and I'll see you all next week. We have a little outro.
Paid and proven. Not just